67.35 and 67.34 are failing to respond to any disclosure request in a timely and or complete manner.
And before you begin, Mr. Garza, I see you there. Is there someone from DPH here?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion to find jurisdiction?
So moved.
How many seconds? By acclamation?
In addition to purely jurisdiction, as this is a public records matter, I would suggest that you find that you have jurisdiction and that the records in question are public. It's a definition for, in regards to the 45-day requirement for this task force to determine whether or not the records requested are public or not.
I think we should stay with the jurisdiction and find that the records are public before we make an additional motion, but I think we should actually hear about the records to make that conclusion before we do so.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out, though. All right, Mr. Garza.
Mr. Wolf?
One more.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't quite take that by, I said by acclamation and then you, so let's do another by acclamation just so that we're solid. All right, great.
Mr. Wolf, I'd like for you to ask if there's a representative here, Mr. Katzenberger from Zuckerberg, or, you know, the other person Sunshine, which was Basil Price. I don't want this to be overlooked. Yes, we have the Department of Public Health here, but
Should I start the clock now? Is this the question that you would like to respond to, or should I start?
Let's deal with this question for a second. You have, I'm looking at the language of the complaint itself, because the way it's summarized, it just names one department.
No, I don't believe so. It says, and Basil Price, Director of Security, Philip Katzenberger, Director of HIS, San Francisco General Hospital.
Is Basic Price a person or an
I
organization?
may have misspelled that, maybe.
Basil Price is Director of Security for Zuckerberg.
Okay, it's written as Basic over here.
Oh, Basil.
Sure.
It's Basil. Basic? There's no T there.
On our agenda, it's...
Okay, well, on my Sunshine request, it's spelled correctly.
I'm sure it is, sir.
So I'd like for you to ask if they're here, because
We can let them address that during their comment.
Is there anyone else here in addition to the person who's already raised their hand as a respondent? Seeing none. All right.
Thank you for the record.
Now let's go ahead and go give you your time.
okay, this complaint against the Department of Public Health and Zuckerberg and other things is about, you know, denial of emergency services. On 4/11, I went into Zuckerberg World Famous Trauma Center for San Francisco General Hospital with a doctor's note stating that I should be admitted for emergency services. At that point, I went to emergency and I had my cell phone and I was recording what was going on at the time, and I showed him my letter. I also passed through security, went up to the triage desk. At that point, one of the people behind the triage desk told me I couldn't film. I told them to quote the law. They couldn't quote the law. The hospital administrator came out, told me that I couldn't film. I asked her to quote the law. She called security over, because you must remember that the Department of Public Health has a $12 million MOU to provide security services for its hospitals, clinics, etc. The unfortunate part is that that MOU provides security, not law enforcement. The people who are dressed in the sheriff's uniform are nothing more than security. They are not there for law enforcement. When I turned to them and asked them to enforce my rights under medical law, they do not, because that is not their job requirement. It has been cleverly parsed, subterfuged, and if you call the San Francisco Police Department to come out and give you civil standby for the laws that have been broken, they will not come out because they are told that the sole jurisdiction is by the sheriff's office, and I brought them to Sunshine where the sheriff's office has admitted that there's no sole jurisdiction, but of course there's never been a fix. This is the way this system is set and rigged. There's never a fix. Never. How many times have I been here? Let us continue. In the past, in case 15012, from a year or 2 years ago when I was denied emergency services at the same hospital, I requested the videos, which were not denied and which I received. Linda Acosta, who is a public information officer, oh, mind you, the brand new public information officer, I would question her training and her knowledge of sunshine, wrote me back an affidavit stating that it was a HIPAA violation for me to receive this video, even though I'd received the videos before and there was no HIPAA violation. She claimed that there were faces and identifiers of everyone else, of other people, which made it such. I am very curious as to the fact that I was the only person there, so I do not know who she's referring to. When I wrote her back and said, excuse me, this is not what happened, this is not correct, let me set up a meeting, let's go further so that you can help me get what I need, to this day I've never been contacted. That's not the way sunshine is supposed to work. This is an IDR, 24 hours passed, I didn't get what I was supposed to get, it didn't work, I still haven't had it. So I will be happy to answer any questions and continue. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone on behalf of the complainant? Seeing none, if the respondent can go ahead and approach.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to provide a quick statement regarding Philip Katzenberger. It's my understanding he's no longer an employee of the City and County of San Francisco.
Great, thank you. All right, you've got some time to explain why this is or isn't a violation.
Okay. Good afternoon, Task Force. My name is Linda Costa. I'm here from the Department of Public Health. And Mr. Garza filed an immediate disclosure request on May 4th, asking for a number of things, including all emails, correspondence, memos related to his visit to the San Francisco General Hospital on April 11th. I began that search, but I let Mr. Garza know that under sunshine request, immediate disclosure materials need to be readily available and simple, and that getting all emails, notes, correspondence, medical records, and video is not an easy task. I let him know that we would get his information within 10 business days. I did deliver every piece of information related to that visit to Mr. Garza within 10 days. The one thing that I was not able to give him was security videos, which contain faces of our patients. I did consult with our city attorney, who affirmed what I thought, which was that we are not to release images, recognizable faces of our patients.
That it?
That's it.
Great, thank you. Quick question for you before you sit down. Oh wait, is there anyone, stay there, but is there anyone wanting to speak on behalf of a respondent? Okay, just had to follow the procedure there. Does your department have the technical ability to take the video footage, blur faces, cut sound out? Do you know whether or not there is a sister city agency that can do that work so that when public video material does need to be disclosed, that those edits can be made? Is there a...
We can ask, I do not know of one.
You do not know of one, great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for the respondent?
No, but I will make a comment. I mean, something that's been drilled into us from the beginning with sunshine is a sunshine request is for something that exists, not the making of a document. And I know this is a video and something different, but that just popped into my head. I mean, what you're bringing up would be like making a whole new record.
I don't think that it is, because if you have a video clip, it's the same as if you have a piece of paper and you need to get rid of this moment in it. You take a black marker for a piece of paper. If you have a video, and I'm not speaking to whether or not the video needs to be disclosed at this point, just in terms of editing the video to cover something
I'll
up.
respond to that. I agree that redacting with a big giant black line is a lot easier on a document than a video.
Oh, I'm not arguing that it's just as easy. I'm just saying that it's not creating a new document, in my opinion.
Smarter people than us will determine that someday.
Mr. Earl, any questions for either the respondent or the complainant?
I'm trying to remember when similar cases come up. I'm trying to blank, but in general, I think there are issues with HIPAA acts and HIPAA act, and like sharing these sort of hospital videos. So
Right, I mean, I think that there's certainly a case for elements to need to be, redacted in order to protect HIPAA requirements. The question I see is whether or not our city entities have a mandate to be able to redact video or not, and whether such an entity exists and is available to you is something that still remains unanswered. But that's sort of where my concerns are. If the video had not had anyone on it other than Mr. Garza himself, what would your response to the request have been?
I would have released it.
Great.
Did you see the video?
Am I to answer this question?
You don't need to, but I'll go ahead and ask.
I did see the video.
And what would be the process if you had felt that this was, that you did need to release the video and needed to do some redactions? Like, that's how we've ended up here. But so the process, who would you reach out to find out if that's even possible?
I asked the former PIO in my position, and she didn't know of any redaction. And I asked the city attorney, and she said, don't release the video. So she did not say, oh, you should redact, and here's how you do it.
Right, but so there's no, we still have no real bearing on how feasible editing video even is. Victor, did you have something you wanted to weigh in there? Okay. Victor, in your experience, have we dealt with redacting of video and other departments that you recall?
In regards to redaction, no.
Right. All right, anyone have any remaining questions or thoughts before we pass it back for rebuttals? All right. One last question. So you responded to the IDR saying that it was going to take the 10 days. When did you respond and how did you respond? I don't see that response.
I responded the same day.
Via
May
email
14th.
or?
It was email, May 4th. Remind me what day of the week that was.
Pulling up a calendar now, but.
Thank you.
May 4th was, I believe, a Thursday.
I believe I responded the same day. Email.
Yeah, May 4th was a Thursday. So
Yeah.
that email may be in here and I just didn't see it. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any.
I probably have it here. Yeah, I responded on Thursday, May 4th at 1:40 p.m.
Great, awesome, thank you. Let's go ahead and hear rebuttals and does respondent, you're actually still at bat.
Oh, okay.
If you have anything to respond to that's been said. All right, thank you. Mr. Garza?
I loved the way you asked her the question, asked her whether she'd seen the video. It wasn't specific enough. When she said she'd seen the video, does that mean the video of all day? You know? Or does that mean the video of when I was there and if there was other people there? She could have seen the video of all day, and she can be telling the truth that there was other people there. It's very clever. Very, very clever. As I've stated before, I do believe I was the only person there in emergency, so how could there be anybody else? I think that's one of the very first questions you should ask, specifically, because she just said she saw the video. Let's rope it down. Did you see the video of where I was at, when it was focusing on me, and was there anybody else there at that particular time that was a patient? Not all day. You know, that's a question that needs to be answered. Also, as far as redaction, I've gotten these videos from Mr. Price before, unredacted, you know, so I believe those times there was nobody there also. But this is computerized. They can blur it out. They can, just in case, they can do all these things and redact. I built the Defense Department's computers when I was 18, you know, in 1978. It's 2017. Let's get real, you know. No. This is all subterfuge. Now, why isn't Director Price here to answer the question? Specifically, he has specific knowledge of this from before, case number 15012, in front of the Sunshine Task Force, where I have my receipt of paying and picking it up, the videos. You know, once again, I want this to be found, you know, official misconduct. She spoke to the prior PIO officer who was incorrect, you know, in the last one. Let's not forget to ask all the appropriate questions. Let's not get misled by half-truths. This, hopefully, is not the Ministry of Sunshine. You know, I have been here numerous times in front of the Department of Public Health. It will continue to happen because I'm sure that even if you do find it in my favor, like you've done in the past, there will be no correction. So the next PIO officer can just do her job, do what she was told, and, you know, look like they're, you know, checking off the right boxes when it's only style and no substance. Excuse me. You know, this is nothing more than a comical error, you know, with a ship of fools running it because, you know, it's plain and simple. These are public records. I'm telling you, not only was I there, I was assaulted by these people. I had my camera. They deleted my videos. That is destruction of evidence. What they cannot delete is the overhead video. I've received them in the past. Why can't I receive them now? Unless, of course, I'm dead right. Let me say it a second time. I'm dead right. Let me say it a third time. I'm dead right. Thank you.
All right. Anyone see a motion they'd like to make?
Trying to find more specifics in the ordinance about DPH disclosed all the information. I'm having trouble tracking that down. The main question I'm trying to understand is what are the legal obligations of hospitals to release this sort of information, and what are the things we've done in the past around security videos in places where there are exemptions.
So the security videos issue has been handled differently in different instances because we're dealing with different agencies and how they view it. In the case of the testimony we heard from DPH, though, the sole reason that's been invoked is that there is private individuals and it would be a HIPAA violation to release it. With that in mind, as the sole reason indicated, I'm concerned that not having to redact a record that has otherwise public information on it. She did say that if there had only been Mr. Garza, it would have been provided. And so the defense that we don't have the technology to redact something does not, to me, carry a lot of weight as we sort of move into new and different technologies. You know, are we gonna have people communicating via Snapchat because there isn't a record created anymore? I think that we have to be better than that as a city. I'm not sure what violation pertains to failing to being unable to redact the material, but that's the violation that I see at this point, and I'm certainly open to hearing what my colleagues see.
Well, there was another question about responsiveness. I think you said you got them.
I didn't get the videos at all, you know, to even state that, you know, and that's what you're concerned
I
about.
understand that, but I thought you said they had been late on a general response or another response?
I'd have to go back and check my records, but the excuse that she used is that it wasn't readily available. Now, you know, if they were going to not supply it, how is that not readily available? The other excuse she used is it was going to take, you know, all this time to go through the records. I didn't receive a single record. There wasn't a medical record released to me. There was no INSTRUCTING log, which is required under INSTRUCTING law to be there. There was no medical screening log, which is required under INSTRUCTING law. INSTRUCTING law is the Emergency Medical Transfer and Labor Act, which I have the signed confession from 2007 from San Francisco General, having broken that after, you know, taking him to court, you know, like I spoke about earlier. So trust me, I know the law inside and out. So, you know, for her to say she needs 10 days when I've received nothing, a few pages that, you know, isn't what I requested, I didn't get the medical records. I didn't get, the video. Why a 10-day delay on an IDR for something I'm not going to get anyway? So, this procedure is a farce. This is about an IDR. This is about,
Sorry.
Does anyone have a sense as to which code would apply to not being able to redact material? I'm struggling here.
It can't have been the first time this has come up, though.
I don't think we're making anything up because you're refusing to provide the material because you have a technical issue, but it's the same thing as saying like we ran out of black ink pens, we can't redact this, which definitely would be a violation.
There are the burdensome resources
Yeah.
that they can file, right? If I ask for you to give me all of the records and prints from all.
Well, that's rule of reason, that's rule of reason, that comes up a lot, but I know for a fact, and Mr. Young, you can probably confirm this, that in past years, we've had requests for videos from San Francisco General and bumped up against the same situation. What I don't remember, though, was that them asking you to turn off your videotaping a couple of years ago, so that must be a new thing.
So in the previous case, we actually ended up with a different reason why they couldn't turn it over, which is why this redaction issue didn't exactly come up. Because in the previous case, we were dealing with either the sheriff's department or whoever oversees security, and they invoked the ongoing investigation, which is a different
You're right.
element. So this is
investigation.
we're in a different world now.
Let's see what happens on the third time. Maybe they'll go for the trifecta.
The third time.
I think this is a case where it's like, we need to figure out, we need to figure out amongst ourselves or with the city attorney how to approach the redaction of videos and what if you guys
This is just like going from an agrarian society to an information age. The technology always moves so much faster than the regulation, and this is just a clear-cut example of this.
So
Technology has just gone so fast, and the laws and the regulations and the things that Mr. Grant Garza wants.
So having not found anything better, I'm looking at 67.24. And I realize that it might be good to pick a subsection, but I'm just going to go with 67.24 because we're just in the recommendation side of this anyhow. 67.24.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
No, not right now, Mr. Garza.
That's a stretch, but. Sorry, it's a stretch, but I'll go with you guys on it. Because I have nothing better.
All right, I'm making that motion. Motion for us to find a recommendation of a violation of 67.24. Is there a second?
It's just,
Could you describe it slightly?
yeah, because it's a lot to this.
The short description?
Yeah.
Failure to redact, failure to provide a document with redactions.
Thank you.
I would say content, not document, if you want
Failing to comply with,
to provide content.
but we use the word public record. Failing to provide a public record with redactions. Is there a second?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to do some more research. I really would like to know more about health laws around here. It's disconcerting that we are just assuming that it's a violation when there is like a lot of heavy state and federal law about hospital records, which seems to be the issue.
I mean,
like you, like we all know how hardcore that stuff is, right? Like you and I don't get to, neither you nor I nor the executives of Uber get to walk around with personal medical records of other people, and so like if they don't have a mechanism for handling that, and it's like, you know, and it's actually a real technical barrier in the manner that like, you know, I mean, I don't know of like easy video editing software that you can just plug a video in and blur out all the faces. I don't think that exists.
I mean, I know the exact process to blur out video, because I've shot protests and blurred out every single participant, and it's a time-consuming process, so I know exactly what's involved here. And it's not a simple thing. Like, you need to refer this to like SF TV or something to do it more than likely. My concern is that basically, outside of the HIPAA issue, we were dealing with the drone issue earlier. Like, being able to redact material in videos needs to be something that's within the city's technical ability and available to look across city departments. And this is demonstrating that it currently isn't. It's not really about Mr. Garza's case, and it's not about the video exactly, and certainly the representative from DPH was acting within, you know, her understanding of what was possible, but I just can't sort of sit by and allow the idea that, oh, we don't know how to edit video is legitimate reason to not turn over public records.
All right, I'm ready to.
Is there a second?
I'm still waiting on a second.
I'm ready to second. I second.
Can I ask a quick question, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Garza.
What, the comment?
Well, no, it was about the motion, because you were making a motion about one item. You weren't making a motion about the IDR. I think this should be held in front of the full task force for them to figure out whether it was complied with
Sure, I
timely.
understand your question, Mr. Garza.
Thank
Let me
you.
just give you a quick answer, which is, we're just making a recommendation. You'll still have a full hearing before the full task.
And they'll
force.
be able to consider other. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure there wasn't going to be only this, and they weren't going to be able to consider anything
It
else.
was a complete.
Thank you. That was.
Over. Everything starts
Thank
from
you.
zero.
Thank
It's
you.
just that this is what's
I just want to be
written on
sure that I'm not going to be screwed by process.
there. This is just what's written on the top of the
I
page.
understand.
We can
Thank
go
you.
anywhere we want.
I
next
understand.
month.
No, that was
In
the gist.
this case, I think we need a little additional clarification in that the violation for 67.24 is regarding the video. Do you have any recommendations regarding other documents that were requested and may or may not have been provided?
My understanding is that everything else was provided.
Yeah, my understanding is that there were a couple points that Mr. Garza made. One was the timeliness, which we have not agreed with at this point in time, which we can. Mr. Garza, you need to go ahead and sit down, please. We're done with that portion of the hearing. We will get your chance in a month. But the timeliness was an issue that we've not neglected to move forward, and then that the video was never turned over. The other elements, I don't think, came about in this hearing. They may come up in the future, but at this point in time, that's where I sit with this motion. Is there any public comment?
Hi, my name's Diane. I think it's a clear violation of failure to turn over video evidence of actual criminal activity happening by hospital staff, and that's why counsel said don't release it. If they were able to even turn over the 5 minutes or 3 minutes that all this took place at, to the best of Mr. Garza's recollection, there was nobody else there during that time. That was never specifically posed to DPH. She's seen the video. It'd be interesting to do a little questioning about what she saw. How many other patients did she see there while Mr. Garza was present? Also, there was no EM, or whatever, the federal emergency trauma log. That was not turned over. they indicated he wasn't on it, but they didn't turn it over. They could have redacted all the patient's information that were on it, but the whole point is he went seeking medical care and was denied, assaulted, his personal property was taken and altered, and this is all in a publicly funded hospital in a public area that was videotaped. So for them not to release that, it's going to be quite the challenge. But maybe a request for that 2 or 3 minutes that all this took place, or a quick question about how many patients were there during this altercation or during this time frame, and also to establish that he was there but seeking medical emergency treatment but was not recorded on the federally mandated log. These are important facts. It's too easy for them to throw HIPAA out there with no specific citation. What part of HIPAA law prevents you from releasing this video with other patients in a public lobby with no identifying factors other than face? I mean, really, patients don't get name badges and interviewed on these security cameras. So the HIPAA rule, I did medical research, I did grants and finance for medical research and worked with many clinical trials, and throwing it out there and being uncomfortable is how they want you to feel, so that anybody can deny an injured person seeking medical treatment and to protect the company.
Great, thank you. Mr. Garza, I have a quick one yes or no question, if you could please answer it with a yes or no. The previous public speaker mentioned that there's a log that you have not received and had requested. Is her summary of that accurate, that you are missing a log?
I believe that the INSTRUCTING law requires that there be a triage report and a medical screening report. I, of course, asked for both of that. I didn't receive any of it. Now, they'll say that the record wasn't created.
Mr. Garza, that was all I needed to ask. Mr. Oakley?
So we are missing
Yeah, could the representative from DPH approach one? So, I'm sure you're aware of the documents that were just referenced a second ago. What is the status of them? Were they provided? Why not, if not?
I provided every single document with his name on it from San Francisco General. And you'll see in the packet, there are responses from people saying that there was no EMTALA because he was never checked in. So he was told to turn his camera off. He never did, so he was never seen in a visit.
So he never got as far as providing his information. Like, I'm assuming that when you go to the hospital, they like take your information down and then they call you. So he never got as far as like getting in the queue with his information in there?
He was in the emergency room, so he went through security with his camera on, as he was wont to do, and he was told that he needed to turn his camera off because he was in a health facility. He refused to do that. So he was not seen that day.
Or put into the triage, that's the word for when we're in the ER. Okay, great, thank you.
Could you ask her the question about other people?
Mr. Garza, you're
Just going to throw it out there.
You're muddling the process at this point, I apologize.
I don't think so.
Ready for the vote?
I guess I'm having trouble figuring out. I think it's interesting to think about, they don't have this log because it didn't allow them to get that part of the process where it would have been generated. And there are, I think, it seems clear that the Sunshine Ordinance doesn't just let you get the log to everyone else redacted, although I might be wrong on that. But I guess there's a possible second similar violation.
I mean, I think that
on that issue, but it's not. So
I think the way that he wrote the request, like he didn't ask for the log and his name wasn't in it, I don't think. We can dig carefully in there, but it seems like if his name's not on the log, I'm not sure that. It's vague how it's written. I'm comfortable with the way it stands now, and it's just a recommendation to the full task force.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're getting, the video is part of the issue,
Right.
it seems to everyone involved.
All right. All right. Any remaining public comment of people that haven't spoken? All right, would you read the roll?
On that motion, Member Eldon.
Aye.
Eldon, aye. Member Fisher.
Aye.
Fisher, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Vote 5, the motion passes. The matter will be referred to the full task force. Most likely will be the August 2nd meeting of the full task force.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen
Next on the
and
agenda-
lady.
Thank you.
Ms. Acosta, I'd like to ask you about setting up a
File
meeting.
number
It's too late.
17.
It's too late. What do you mean by that, Ms. Acosta?
Michael Gray against the police department for Lizzie Riley.
Why can't you set up a meeting? Aren't you supposed to help me, Ms. Acosta, as the PIO officer? Keep walking away. This is a public building. I can videotape you all the way out, and I will, Ms. Acosta. Is this how you were trained to do your job in Sunshine, Ms. Acosta? Who trained you, Ms. Acosta? Thank you. Thank you. I will see you later. I will be in to videotape my following up and your failure. Thank you. I hope you sleep well at night.